Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I am Tom.
And we are doing our literature unit. So for the next 3 programs, we're going to be talking about a book, Around the World in 80 Days. I never read the book, Tom, but I did see the film when I was a little girl. And I thought it was fun. There were some famous actors and actresses in it. That was a long time ago. But I never did read the book. What about you?
No, I haven't read the book, and I haven't seen the movie, although
Really?
I understand the movie was released in the 50s or something like that, maybe 1956
Oh, it was
or
color.
something.
I remember that. It wasn't out new when I saw it. It was just a rerun on TV.
I think Shirley MacLaine was in that movie,
Totally.
along with other famous actors. You can check it out. Maybe somebody has posted it online somewhere.
It's really old.
But again, this is a book that was written a long time ago, so it's probably in the public domain somewhere. And you can probably download this book and read it in your device if you feel like a challenge. And if you don't feel like a challenge, well, you can listen to us talk about it. We'll summarize the story, and we'll talk about the author, and we'll talk about some of the themes and ideas in the book like we always do. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's have a synopsis of our featured work of literature, Around the World in 80 Days. Let's listen now. Phileas Fogg, an eccentric British gentleman, leads a strict but routine life. One day, while playing cards at the Reform Club, he agrees to a wager of £20,000 if he can circumnavigate the world in 80 days. He leaves London that night, October 2nd, 1872, with his servant, Passepartout. They plan to go by steamship and train through Europe to Egypt, India, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, the US, and back to London by December 21st. Meanwhile, someone has stolen £55,000 from the Bank of England. A Scotland Yard investigator, Detective Fix, is sure Fogg is the robber and follows him on the same journey to arrest him. Fogg and Passepartout come up with creative solutions to the many delays and setbacks they experience along their journey. In India, the train track isn't yet finished, so they hire a local to take them by elephant. They also narrowly rescue a widow, Princess Aouda, from being burned alive with her husband's body in a ritual. Grateful to the men for saving her, she joins them on their adventure. The 3 continue their journey with Detective Fix chasing them. Fogg and Passepartout get separated in Hong Kong and Japan, but they eventually meet again and cross the US by train and wind-powered sled. Fogg hires a private ship to transport them from New York to Liverpool. Once there, Fogg is arrested, but he's released when police learn that the actual bank robber was caught earlier. Due to this delay, the companions arrive in London one day late. Fogg is displeased, but Passepartout later realizes that they gained a day by crossing the international dateline. Fogg presents himself at the Reform Club, wins the wager, and happily marries Princess Aouda.
Okay, guys, let's get started on the plot. So we've got lots of character names. We hope you can keep them straight. If you keep names straight, it just means you don't get them mixed up and you know who is who. There are a lot of different characters in this movie. I was just looking at the movie. There are a lot of famous people from long ago who starred in this thing in 1956. Of course, they're all gone now. So if you go on a voyage, guys, I typically use this word when we talk about long trips on the sea, or maybe you're going into outer space and you have a space voyage. I don't talk about going home to America and say, oh, I'll be going home for a 2-week voyage. I don't say that. No. We typically use it for a bigger kind of adventure. Here we're describing it as being extraordinary, so it's really cool. It's something most people don't get a chance to do. I know some people still have that wish or desire to be able to travel around the world. It's a lot easier now that we have planes that go everywhere, pretty much. But back when this book was first written, this would be a big, difficult task. You would call it a voyage.
Yeah, well, if you did not rely on jets and things like that, it probably would be kind of difficult to get around the world in 80 days.
Totally.
Especially because they don't really have those ocean liners crossing the oceans anymore because you can just fly nowadays. Back in the day, people took ships, but in any case, this is way back in the 1800s. And let's summarize the book here. So we've got the main character of the story, Phileas Fogg. Okay, Phileas Fogg. That's the main guy, okay. He's an eccentric British gentleman. He leads a strict but routine life. Okay, so, of course, if you're eccentric, that means you're kind of strange, kind of weird, but usually in an acceptable way. Especially if you're rich or if you're famous or something, you can be eccentric. If you're not rich or famous and you act that way, then you're insane, you're weird, and you should be put away.
Yeah, they use that word eccentric for people who are very wealthy so they can get away with doing lots of crazy things. People will excuse it because they have money. But yeah, you're right, Tom. If you do some of these weird things and you're not wealthy, people just think you're a weirdo. They may not think you're insane technically, but they do think you're weird. So he leads a strict but routine life. So he's very disciplined. He manages to control himself. The actor who plays this role is David Niven, a very famous British actor who is perfect for this role. That seems to be his kind of personality. So here's what happens. One day, while he's playing cards at a place called the Reform Club, he agrees to a wager or a bet of £20,000 if he can circumnavigate the world in 80 days, which is really quite quick if you think about it. That's very fast for back then. Reform Club is just the name of the club where he's gambling. I know back then in that period of history, you had to go to clubs in order to gamble. And usually you were quite wealthy if you were playing cards at a club. Most people were just having a hard time making enough money to buy bread and clothes to live in. So he agrees to a huge bet or a wager. You can call it a wager too. That's a lot of money, especially back then. It's a lot of money today. So it was a lot of money back then. If you circumnavigate, it means you navigate yourself around something. So he's going to navigate himself around the world in a very short amount of time, 80 days.
Yep, that's back in the 1800s. So again, he did not have an airplane or jet or anything like that. So, well, he leaves London that night on October 2nd, 1872. That would have been just a few years after the American Civil War ended. And he left that night with his servant, Passepartout. Okay, so that's in October, so they're getting close to winter there, but I think they're heading to southern climates, so they'll be all right.
Good.
And here's their plan. They plan to go by steamship and train through Europe to Egypt, India, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, the U.S., and back to London by December 21st. Okay, so do your mathematics there. That should be less than 80 days. So if they're going by steamship, of course, it's a ship that's powered by steam, where they burn wood, and the wood heats water, the water boils, and then that steam powers the ship. That's what a steamship is. And they're also going to take a train through these various countries. I think they actually use all sorts of different modes of transportation. That's why this book is so exciting.
Yeah, but they also were on steam trains. That's how the train used to operate back then, too. So they're going through quite a few countries, if you look at that. And they're going to do it rather quickly. So he is going to leave London on October 2nd, and he plans to be back in London by December 21st. So meanwhile, at the same time that's happening, something else is happening. Someone has stolen £55,000 from the Bank of London. Ooh, that's a big sum of money. Somebody got away with a lot of money. So in England, they have a special police force called the Scotland Yard, and they do a lot of investigating. They still have Scotland Yard. It still exists. And there's an investigator, someone who investigates crimes. You could also call him a detective. Here, his title is detective, and his last name is Fix. So we've got an investigator. Again, when you investigate, you check out things. Maybe you're looking for clues. Maybe you've been assigned by your insurance company to make sure that someone's not defrauding your company. So you'll go and make sure that what they're doing is legal and not illegal. So he's got an investigator from Scotland Yard, which means this detective Fix is very good at his job. Only the best of the best work for Scotland Yard. And he's sure that Fogg, this eccentric British gentleman, is the robber. That's what he thinks, at least. He's pretty sure of it. So he follows him on the same journey because he's going to catch him and then arrest him for that robbery of the Bank of London.
Right, so it's kind of an around-the-world chase.
The Bank of England, I said that wrong.
Okay, Bank of England, but
yeah.
In any case, I guess here Detective Fix is convinced that Phileas Fogg is guilty, but he's running away from justice, so Fix wants to get him, so he chases him around the world. And, of course, that means this is going to be a very interesting adventure novel as they chase each other all around the world through different countries and riding on elephants and in trains and on boats and whatever. You name it, they're going to ride on it. So it's going to be quite an interesting story, which we'll continue talking about in just a second. Right now, we need to hear from our Chinese teacher.Hi
everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们要看的是第13单元。好，这个主题呢是文学方面的主题。我们要谈的是一本也许你都有听过或者是看过它改编的电影。这一本书叫做《环游世界80天》Around the World in 80 Days。好，当然可以预想的，这80天的行程应该是非常的精彩，也让这本书成了大家都耳熟能详的巨作。好，我们来看，首先，我们第一部分呢，就要来谈这个书、这个故事它的内容，大体上的情节是什么。好，那一开始这个主角叫 Fogg 他是一个怪人 eccentric。当你用这个字来修饰一个人的话，那就表示他真的是行为非常的怪异。好，那他的怪就怪在于，他呢，生活平淡，生活无味，那喜欢规律而也严谨的生活。不过有一天呢，他在玩牌的时候呢，他就跟人家打赌。这个 wager 这个赌注就是说，他要在80天内完成这个全球的环球航行。那他有一个仆人，这个仆人呢叫 Passepartout， 他们两个就必须在那天晚上就直接出发离开伦敦。好，所以呢他们真的就在80天内完成这个行程。不过当然这个过程里面有很多精彩值得讨论的事情，我们等一下再来看。那看一看重点，有几个地方要注意，在第一段里面，比如说这个字 circumnavigate， 这个字很长，但是要知道 circum C-I-R-C-U-M，这基本上是一个拉丁的字根，它的代表意思就是 around， 后面的 navigate 就代表 sail 航行，所以 circumnavigate 大概意思就出来了，表示它是一个环绕全球的航行。好，那 circum 这个字根呢，当然有放到别的很多字里面，大家如果想一想学过的，像 circumstances， 还有 circumference， 讲圆周，对不对？这些字好像都跟这个字根有关系。好，那我们提到这个故事，他们从伦敦出发以后，当然一路上他因为被这个伦敦的警察以为他是偷走英格兰银行55000英镑的贼，所以这个调查员叫做 Fix， 也跟着他一起走上这一趟旅程。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We are talking about the novel Around the World in 80 Days and what kind of extraordinary voyage some people go on. We've got our first character. His name is Phileas Fogg. So he has a lot of money and he agrees to a bet of 20,000 pounds that he can get himself around the world in 80 days. And meanwhile, we also have some money being stolen from the Bank of England. And an investigator, Detective Fix from Scotland Yard, he is pretty sure that Fogg is the robber. We're going to find out if that's true, but that's his thinking. And he decides, well, I'm going to follow Fogg and I'm going to catch him and arrest him for that robbery.
Okay, so as you might expect, of course, the journey does not go smoothly for Fogg and Passepartout. They come up with creative solutions to the many delays and setbacks they experience along their journey. So, of course, in life, we often have to experience delays when things slow down and you can't get them done on time. Or even worse, we have setbacks when you actually go in reverse. If you're trying to maybe ride your bicycle around Taiwan and then you hit a big rock in the road and your wheel breaks and stuff like that and you can't continue and you've got to go back to the previous town to buy a new wheel, well, that is a big setback for you. It delays your journey and actually causes you to be delayed even further there. So they experience these setbacks and delays along their journey.
You can also have setbacks at work. Maybe you're busy on a project where you're going to be installing a new computer system, and suddenly your head computer guy gets very sick and has to have an operation, and it kind of stops all the progress. That's a setback. So anytime you're not able to continue progressing on something, whether it's a journey or a project at work or just life. Maybe you've had some setbacks in life. You've lost your job, or maybe you had to declare bankruptcy or close a store that you didn't think you'd have to. You thought you'd be successful. Well, those are setbacks. Doesn't mean that everything's going to go wrong. You just had a little bit of bad luck that keeps you from moving forward. So in India, remember, they're going to all these countries. The train track isn't finished yet. So they hire a local, a person who lives there is called a local, to take them by elephant. So instead of, moving along by train, which is quite fast, really, compared to an elephant,
sure.
That would be a setback because it's going to add time to the journey. And remember, they only have 80 days to get back to London.
That's right. So they're still moving, though, even though they're on this elephant. And they also narrowly rescue a widow, Princess Aouda, from being burned alive with her husband's body in a ritual. So, of course, they probably witnessed this funeral that's about to take place. And Princess Aouda is going to be sacrificed. She's alive, but her husband has died. I guess this is some kind of ritual that they practiced in India at the time. And they thought, oh, no, we can't let an innocent person die like that. I don't care what kind of culture this is or if we're disrespecting the local culture in India. We have to save this woman. So, of course, that's part of a ritual. A ritual, of course, is something that you do by tradition on certain holidays. You have funeral rituals that you might perform, or you might have certain rituals that you perform at a funeral or during some kind of celebration or something like that. There would be rituals at, say, some kind of wedding. What kind of wedding ceremony you have, those are rituals.
Now, we can also use it in a more casual way. We could talk about someone's morning ritual. If you get up every day and you do the exact same thing, you have a pattern, that's a ritual as well. What's your morning ritual? I get up, I go to the gym, I come home, I get dressed, I go to work. That's kind of my morning ritual. Everybody does things that are similar every day. That can become a part of a ritual that you have. So she was, of course, very grateful to the men who saved her life by rescuing her. It says they also narrowly rescue the widow. So she is so grateful. She decides, I'm going to join you on your adventure. She probably wants to get out of India at this point and make sure that they don't catch her again and try to burn her alive. That's crazy.
I don't blame her. So the three of them continue their journey, their voyage, with Detective Fix chasing them. He's hot on their heels. He's following after them, and Fogg and Passepartout get separated in Hong Kong and Japan, but they eventually meet again and cross the U.S. by train and wind-powered sled. So they get to Hong Kong there, of course, and they get separated there. You know, there's a lot of people in Hong Kong, so maybe they were trying to walk through a market or something, and they lost each other. And the same thing, I guess, happened in Japan, but they eventually find each other. You know, in the end, they meet up again, and they cross the U.S. by train, which, of course, means the railroad. Okay, I guess the tracks are in good place there. They're all set there, and they don't have to rely on buffalo or something like that. And they also use a wind-powered sled. A sled is usually some kind of device that we use to go down a hill that is covered with snow. A sled, go for a sleigh ride together with you. Well, that's a sleigh. A sled is similar. But this one's wind-powered, so I guess it's got a sail on it or something, and it goes across fields of snow. You'd have to read the book to see exactly what they're talking about there. But sled is the American word for that device. I think they say sledge in England, but they're in the U.S. there, so they're on a sled that's powered by the wind, like a sailboat on land.
Doesn't sound like it would be very fast, you know, but it's awfully fun. We still use sleds today, but they're mostly for kids and their families to play together. If you take a sled up a hill that has snow on it, you can slide down that hill on a sled. Kind of fun. In the winter, that is. So Fogg hires a private ship to transport them from New York to Liverpool. So they've made it all the way over to the East Coast, and that's when he needs to get his hands on a private ship. So instead of just getting passage on maybe a ship that's going to take 3 months to cross the Atlantic Ocean, he decides, I need a private ship that'll get us there faster. So he hires one. Remember, he's rich. He can do that. And they get themselves from New York over to Liverpool there in England. But once there, Fogg is arrested. But he's released when police learn that the actual bank robber was caught earlier. Oh, so poor Fix, Detective Fix, who's been chasing him all over the world and is probably tired at this point. It was all for nothing. Or as we like to say, all for naught. N-A-U-G-H-T. It's all for naught means you did all that work for nothing. Because they've already caught the actual robber. We don't find out who it is in this particular summary. But if you're interested, you could check online.
I hope Detective Fix apologized to them, but because of this delay, due to this delay, the companions arrive in London 1 day late. So they have to get from Liverpool to London, so that means they're a day late. Companions, of course, are people who are together. If you're a married couple, of course, you could call your wife or your husband your companion. You could call your dog your companion if you're close to your pet. But in any case here, Fogg is displeased, which means he wasn't happy. But Passepartout later realizes, hey, we gained a day by crossing the international date line, which is somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I guess they actually gained a day when they did that. So it turns out that they actually did arrive on time.
Yay! And remember, he placed a bet for £20,000. You don't want to lose a bet that big. So what does he do then? He presents himself at the Reform Club, where he'd been playing cards, and he actually made that bet or agreed to that wager, and he wins. And at that point, he happily marries Princess Auda, which is kind of a weird name. Is that Shirley MacLaine in the movie? I think it is.
I think so, yeah. So they get married and they live happily ever after, and that's how the story ends. That's our summary, and we'll come back again next time to talk about the author himself, Jules Verne, so please join us then. But right now, before we say goodbye, we need to hear from the Chinese teacher again.
好，我们来继续看。那 Fogg 跟他的仆人 Passepartout 他们有一些很有创意的解决办法。这一路最精彩的就是他们呢有一次就是在搭火车，印度搭火车的时候呢，他们因为火车的轨道还没做好，没办法搭火车，所以他们雇了一个本地人带他们骑大象，而且当时在过程里面还救了一个寡妇。好，那为了报答这个救命之恩，所以奥达公主也加入了他们的冒险之旅。所以说这3个人就开始一连串接下来的行程。那不要忘记还有一位尾随他们的就是 Fix 这个 detective 警探，他因为要追捕他们，他认为他们偷了银行的钱。好了，看到 with Detective Fix chasing them 这个地方我们晓得 with 这个介系词，它后面呢往往会接一个受词，然后受词后面还有一个修饰语作为补语的。受词补语的这个受词补语位置上的字通常是一个 VING 或 PP， 也就是一个分词，或者是有时候是介系词片语。那在这边看到的 chasing 它就是一个现在分词，当然修饰的是前面的 Detective Fix， 有他在后头一直追赶他们。好，那再往下面呢又说他们这一趟的旅程还到哪里？到香港，到日本，然后一连串分合之后，最后再度会合，然后呢再搭火车，搭风力雪橇穿越美国。那提到这个雪橇它是用风力的，所以用 wind powered， 换句话说The sled is powered by wind， 你可以这样解释为什么加一个 PP 用过去分词，就是表示它是被动，靠风来启动。好，再来下面这一段的故事内容到最后到底是喜剧还是悲剧呢？其实他们最后真的按照期限之内回到了伦敦，但是比较有趣的就是他们本来以为赶不上，可是他们突然发现International Dateline 国际换日线，其实因为过了国际换日线多得了一天，所以最后是喜剧大结局。好，我们今天的讲解就到这边结束，我们下次见。
Okay, that's the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining us, but we've still got more to talk about in terms of Around the World in 80 Days. So please join us again next time when we talk about the author, Jules Verne. So until then, from all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.